Peace, 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 and greetings, everybody. It is Coach Twilight, and I'm coming to you with part 2 of the pain body and how it controls you. But this time, we are talking about pain-body relationships. Now, what we're doing, people, is we're digging deep into the subconscious. Oftentimes, it is not conscientious, or we are not aware of these behavior tendencies that we engage in. But I want you to understand that somebody is aware. Somebody knows what pressure points to hit. Somebody knows how to manipulate these things in you that you have not yet identified, such as mass marketers. Okay? They spend millions and billions of dollars on commercials, on advertisement, so that they can make you feel inadequate and claim that their particular product is what can bring you some level of adequacy. Why do we sit up in rap songs and we talk about all our material things? These is red bottoms, these is blood shoes. You see what I'm saying? Like, all of these things are things to establish hierarchy, to make ourselves feel important, to make us look like we have transcended lower level pain like poverty and so forth, but when in actuality, mentally and spiritually, we have not. We have just gotten into the material trappings or the makeup or the social status that helps us to forget about our own pain body. Okay, now the first thing we need to understand when it comes to the pain body, as I said in my last video, is it is pretty much where your stopping point is in your emotional arrested development. It is when the flow of vital life force energy through some sort of trauma or situation that you couldn't emotionally process, whether you were too young or too immature, and this vital life force energy stopped flowing with ease. This then causes dis-ease. And if this continues over a long period of time, you will find that you will have tears in your human energy field, which will lead to physical issues. So a lot of people are like, I don't know why this happened to me, why this happened to me, that happened to me. I meditate, I'm a good person, I try to think positive, but we have to unpack what's in our pain body. So how are we establishing these pain body relationships? First and foremost, it's built on a cracked foundation of our own self-identification. It doesn't matter if you're 40, 50, 60, 70, or 80 years old. If you have a cracked identification of who you are and you truly don't see yourself as a divine being, even if you see the divine as outside of you and you truly don't embody it inside of you, what will happen is that you will see yourself in your limitations. And what are pain body relationships? These are relationships that we establish either to forget about our pain body or that they match our pain. Relationships that we establish either to forget about our pain body or that they match our pain body. Now, personally, my paradigm is that of living as a melanated black woman in the U.S. Ultimately, there are certain stigmas and stereotypes that come along with that, whether it be explicitly said in society or pretty much said indirectly. There are things that are heaved upon us when we are in a certain financial class, when we are born of a single parent, when what we experience in our home and our neighborhoods and amongst other individuals who have these similar upbringings. So what we will find is we oftentimes have a negative self-identity. And that was one of the biggest things that I dealt with. I wanted to run away from the connotation of being hood, being ghetto, being considered the poor black woman. If you're too confident, you're a woman who will overpower her man, too strong and too difficult to handle and too hard to love. That is the message that people send about black women. Let's dig deep, people. Let's tear back some of those layers. In my paradigm, as I mentioned, living as a black woman, the message that is sent by society is black women are too hard to love. We are too difficult. We don't want to follow any leadership. We don't want to cooperate with our men, and we're too combative, and we're too aggressive, and so on and so forth. And this is the message that society sends black women indirectly. It makes it seem as if the more successful you are as a woman, but especially as a black woman, you are less likely to be appealing to a man. And these are messages that are sent constantly nowadays. With that seeps into your subconscious, whether we know it or not. And that programming sustains itself. And so we begin to follow through in what they call we begin to follow in self-fulfilling prophecy. A self-fulfilling prophecy is when something is said to you over and over again, which is an affirmation, and it is downloaded into your subconscious mind, and you begin to act and behave in ways, whether it is productive or not, based on this particular programming. Another thing that black men are generally, the message that's sent out about them is that they're scary, that they're criminals, that they are people that you have to watch. They are shifty, they are lazy, they don't want to earn their right in life. In addition to that, they are told that they are inferior in some way. And again, this is the paradigm from whence I came. So I can't really speak to any other paradigm besides the one that I know intimately. So this paradigm that I know intimately, I can speak on. Everyone has a paradigm that they are experiencing, no matter the race, the religion, the sex, the sexual orientation, the culture. We all have a paradigm that we face in this country that attempts to batch and collate the human spirit. And that will always be the case. People need to categorize and put you in a specific box in order for them to know how to interact with you, instead of accepting your spirit as a whole. This is why we are peeling back layers like pain body and shadow work and so on and so forth, because these are the things that people have told you are unacceptable about you, that are ugly, that are rejected about you, that is something that no one would ever love, the unlovable parts of you. And so we tend to repress these so-called unlovable parts of us in order to maximize our efficiency in society. But by doing so, we lose a piece of ourselves. We lose a piece of our wholeness. And so we have fragmented individuals walking around trying to make their lives as best as quote-unquote normal as possible, but they're missing out on the experience of truly loving and accepting themselves, because they have defined certain parts of them as unacceptable. So what I find in my paradigm, again, this is my paradigm from which I came, is that black women have been told they are unlovable. So they spend so much time looking for love. Black men have been told they are inferior, and they spend so much time looking for power. What happens when we are in our lower selves, when we are subconsciously looking for those things, is we tend to try to amass these things in very bizarre ways. So you may find that a black woman who is looking for love, per se, even though this is her subconscious programming, she may engage in promiscuous behavior just to get someone to get a feeling of intimacy and closeness. She may do things against her own spirit, which may cause her to be less effective and less happy than she can be in this lifetime, as well as this can cause the flow of energy to have dis-ease, which then will cause her to possibly have different illnesses and ailments. Think of how many of your 40, 50-year-old grandmothers and mothers have things like diabetes and heart problems and blood pressure issues and anemics and cancer and so on and so forth. Yes, food does contribute to this, but also stress contributes to having these types of diseases. Unreleased negative pent-up emotion causes this. These are all things that are caused by compromising your spirit against what your higher self would instruct you to do. So because we're inundated with all of these messages that we are unlovable, we work so hard to be loved, and then sometimes we overcompensate and create more destructive paradigms for ourselves. This is unpacking the pain body as well as the African male. Now, I'm going to talk about something controversial. A lot of people say, well, they don't like to see black men with white women. I have a theory that part of the reason why you may see black men with white women on a regular basis is because they see them as a symbol of a higher level of social status. Again, everyone has a paradigm from which they are in based on their race, religion, sexual orientation. So they may see the white woman as the pinnacle of meeting a specific social status. So you take the man who has been deemed inadequate, incompetent, and he gets the woman who is deemed the pinnacle of all things. What do you have here? You have a man who has gotten a certain level of power. Now, I'm not saying that this happens consistently. I am saying that if you have a paradigm where you feel so unempowered, you're going to work super hard to have power over things. You're going to work super hard to control things. When you have not gotten into your higher consciousness, you do bizarre things to fill the voids in your life. I'm going to say that again because some people are going to get it misconstrued. When you have not gotten to a higher level of consciousness and you have a void, you're going to try to fill that void through an egoistic way. So whether that be accumulating and amassing people like material things. So the black woman may go and she may amass her a male who she feels loves her and appreciates her, but really is fetishizing her or fantasizing about her or not truly into her divine spirit. And what that does is that causes more fragmenting and that causes more dis-ease in the flow of vital life force energy. A black man may go to a woman who is not necessarily good for him, but looks good on the outside because now he has this paradigm of being this great, conqueror or this great warrior because he has this status symbol. And that's part of my theory. I believe that it's all about feeling inadequate, feeling unappreciated, feeling unempowered, and going to the physical representations of those things that make you feel empowered. That is the premise for a pain-body relationship. We live in a narcissistic society that appropriates self-image over authenticity. So when you live in an environment and a society like that, there is no wonder that most of us are existing in our pain body, attracting relationships based on our pain body, and the pain body is the paradigm from whence we see life and interpret things in life. So it is important to note that we begin to identify these these poor self-images that we have amassed over time. And we begin to connect more vehemently with our divine self. Now, mindfulness meditation is a practice that can help you in this. I advocate for that because as you begin practicing mindfulness meditation more and more, and you begin to notice the time in between your breaths, you begin to notice that you are tapping into fifth dimensional consciousness where time no longer exists. You are now tapping into the astral. You are now tapping into creation realm. You are now tapping into dark matter and dark energy. But that is going to be that's a loaded topic for another time. But I encourage people to begin to unpack their pain body, to begin to notice what elements and things they have accumulated over time that no longer serves their highest good. And begin to notice when you're acting out of your pain body. once you begin to notice that you're acting out of your pain body, you begin to identify the pain body elements, then you begin to disrupt that connection. It's like a Wi-Fi is being cut off. You see? Start to notice the things that activate your pain body, you see? And again, further disconnection with it will start to separate it from you. In that separation, you will become more empowered to knowing who your true, authentic self is. Again, be mindful, be aware, and remember that you are a divine being. This is Coach Twilight. You can visit us on transformation, 2empowerment.org. Peace, love, and light to you.